Hey everybody, welcome to Bogus Features. As you'll notice, I don't have my partner with me to the side. That's because I'm going to do a movie review for you. Just real short, but I felt the need to do it because it's a big summer blockbuster and, you know, everybody was hyped up for it. It looked like it was going to be awesome. But I saw The A-meh-zing Spider-Man 2 on Friday, and you know, I wasn't thrilled with it. There was a lot I did like about it, and I'll talk about that as well. But there were a couple of gripes that I had with the film overall, and you know, not everybody shares the same viewpoint that I do, but I just like to throw it out there because, like I said, overall the movie was good. I didn't walk out, you know, angry or upset. It wasn't Spider-Man 3 or anything like that. It's just there were a few missteps, and you know, it's curious to me how certain things went wrong, but anyway, to the point, I have 3 issues with The A-meh-zing Spider-Man 2. The first issue is everything in the movie happened too fast. Maybe not everything, but most things in the movie happened way too fast. For example, Electro's origin, the movie origin anyway. It just happened, you know, out of nowhere. He fell in the tank. I mean, that was cool. The setup for the origin was really cool. Sort of, you know, that he was at Oscorp, everyone left. He fell into the tank, and you know, with the electric eels, and then that's how he became Electro or whatever. But the act of him using his powers and figuring out how to do it just was like, boom, well, he's already a villain, he knows what to do. Why? I don't know. It's never fully explained, which is actually my second gripe with the movie. They go kind of hand in hand. The things move too fast, and a lot of things just go completely unexplained. And it's boggling to me anyway, because I thought the first movie moved at a good pace and everything was pretty well explained, except for the stuff that they left as a mystery, you know, on purpose for future installments. But so yeah, Electro being Electro, I feel just kind of was like, boom, thrown out there, and then all of a sudden he's Electro and he knows what he's doing. And his journey from you know, socially inept nerd, smart but socially inept nerd, to full-on supervillain, just kinda felt inorganic, I guess is the best way to say it. It was just, like I said, it was just A to B. That was it. There was no steps. There was no sort of real purpose to it. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't miss the signs and the little hints and things like that. Like, you know, Max Dillon had voices in his head sometimes. That's what some of the music in the background was playing, and a lot of it was Jamie Foxx's voice, you know, amplified and multiplied over and over, you know, shouting things in his voice, and that only got even heavier and increased when he became Electro. But I still would have liked to see a much more organic progression from where he began to, you know, to where he ended up. So that was one question that I had. The other thing that popped out of nowhere and kind of struck me was, when they when he becomes Electro and goes out and then he's captured or arrested or whatever, where did they take him? Somewhere, like, the police don't put him in jail or anything. They take him to a compound that's like, what? Okay, where? And they have some sort of jail that holds him. All of a sudden, they have a jail that'll hold a supercharged electric villain. Weird. Where did that come from? And then, you're supposed to still kind of feel sympathetic for Max because there's this evil scientist holding him and stuff like that. So it's like, what hand are you playing? Is Max a sympathetic villain, or are we supposed to, despise him? I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to see for future installments, but it was unclear of how you're supposed to feel about Electro as a villain anyway. Another thing I thought that went too fast and kind of was unexplained was, Peter and Harry's relationship kind of, went from absolutely nothing to, oh my god, we're best friends. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially when they said, oh, I got sent away when I was 10 years old, and we haven't talked since then. It's like, I don't know how a lot of everybody else's best friends are, but I know that I am in no way still best friends with some of the people I knew when I was 10, and I knew them for much longer from when I was 10. And I don't mean that say that as a good or bad thing. It's not, I hate those people or anything. I want to distance myself from those people. But people just grow, and especially, if you never see them for another decade, it just, I don't know. The explanation they gave for their relationship just rang dishonest, really. So, Harry and Peter's relationship rang false. To me. I didn't really buy it. Despite the fact that it was acted, majestically by Dane DeHaan and Andrew Garfield, both of whom I like a lot as actors, and I think they're very honestly talented, and supremely hard workers. They just, they did the absolute best they could with the very flimsy premise that they were given for the relationship. So that kind of moves into, Harry Osborn, his issues with Spider-Man, and him becoming the Green Goblin. A lot of that was just fast-tracked. It just moved way too fast within the construct of the story. From the beginning, where he's in the room with Norman, and they're, bickering because he was sent away, and, he doesn't understand why, and why didn't you love me, and that whole thing. And okay, that's reason enough for a kid to have a chip on his shoulder. But then they introduce the degenerative disease that he has that's incurable, and the whole reason, for the overall story arc from Spider-Man 1 and the sequel, Norman Osborn dying trying to find a cure for himself, and obviously chasing down Peter's parents, and then, what ultimately happens to them if you've seen the movie. But he just went from again, a kid that we're supposed to feel sympathetic for because his father's Norman Osborn, to, kind of snake-like, just slides right into it. and vacillates back and forth. And normally I like that. Normally I really, really like, you know, a layered villain. I think villains are some of the most interesting characters in fiction overall, books, comics, film, and especially when they're layered and you can understand a villain's motives. That's what makes the best villain, in my opinion, is a well thought out and layered villain that you can almost empathize with or sympathize with, because that challenges us as viewers or readers, to know right from wrong, where even if we understand the motives, we all come back to choice, and it's how you respond to the things that happen to you, whether you become you know, hero or villain, and that's kind of the point of Spider-Man in general. Peter Parker could have allowed all of the things that happened to him to make him, you know, a brat and a dick, and you know, some would argue Spider-Man's kind of a dick in general anyway, but he didn't allow himself to become a villain. He feels a sense of responsibility, and he has to do these things in order to, you know, fulfill the responsibility that he feels he has. But anyway, going back to Harry, yeah, I felt like, again, through no fault of Dane DeHaan, I thought Dane DeHaan was great. His character just, you're never really sure how to feel about him, and that's fine for both Electro and Harry Osborn to never be sure, but the film requires us to hate them for the things that happen to work, or for us to care about Spider-Man or Peter doing battle against them. Like, if we say Oscorp wronged Max Dillon and made him become what he became, and Max Dillon as Electro he didn't really attack any normal people. He just kind of, you know, he accidentally started some damage in Times Square, which, you know, again, kind of turned into maybe a little bit being destructive. I mean, not a little bit, he did a lot of damage, but the point is, he didn't even know what he was really doing. It was the first time he even used his powers, and then people started attacking him out of nowhere. So it's like, okay, how do I feel bad about that? And then, okay, ultimately he's like, yeah, I'm going to attack the power grid that I created. But again, is that so evil? I mean, I guess, yeah, the problem is that he, without power, affects a city full of people who had nothing to do with it. But, come on, I mean, sure, there's some things that require power, and I'm sure it's no good for people in hospitals and stuff like that, but overall, what's a small power loss? The point is, I didn't feel like I should be rooting for Spider-Man to attack Electro at that point. And then again, when Harry eventually gets the spider venom and starts turning all goblin-like, brings me back to the first point. That was super fast-tracked. It's like he did it, and then all of a sudden he's changed and crawling towards the goblin suit, and it's like, man, okay, that was quick. Like, when did we even learn that Harry knew what that thing was? He just crawled towards it. I know earlier in the film, they, in an off, you know, like a throwaway line, they were talking about the goblin glider, and he looked at it, and then he kept flipping through other stuff, but, like, is that enough time while your, you know, body is going through a transformation to recall that information and go, oh, man, okay, I gotta go right for that thing? Like, was it his plan all along? I don't know. Who knows? It just sort of happened, and it wasn't fully explained, and it just kind of happened too fast. I don't know. It was just those two things, especially with the two villains of the film, that it was kind of like the filmmakers said, we gotta make it happen with as much information as we could possibly put in, which is very little, it seemed. So, those couple of things really did bother me, and I don't think that was the intent of the film. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the original shooting script even was probably about 300 or more pages, and they were, that's probably a lot, but, the film probably should have been longer than it was, and I wouldn't be surprised to find out that footage exists of parts of the story that would have made it fuller, for lack of a better term, than it was. But as things happened, the movie was already almost 2.5 hours long. They probably didn't want that to be the case, and that kind of brings me to what was good and actually the real important part of the film. The good parts of the film were, the cinematography was great. The acting from everybody was superb. Jamie Foxx, I knew would kill it as Max Dillon, Electro, and he did. I just wish his character was fuller. Dane DeHaan again as Harry Osborn, fantastic. Again, just wish he had been done justice as he did to the character. And then the ultimate best part of the film is the relationship between Peter and Gwen, and Andrew Garfield becoming Spider-Man even more so than in the first film. In the first film, that's how I imagined a real-world Peter Parker would be Spider-Man, kind of overtly an asshole, not, he wouldn't just jump right into it, the Spider-Man we all know and love. It's something that had to evolve, right down to the costume that everyone complained about. It's, in a realistic setting, the non crafty kid, really, as far as like clothing goes, wouldn't immediately settle on the classic Spider-Man design and knock it right out of the park the first try. I bet even between the first movie and second movie he did keep building the costume, and then finally came to the one that's in this film, which is very akin to the classic Spider-Man outfit. So anyway, yeah, I was really trying to keep this short, I'm sorry. But, yeah, the relationship between Peter and Gwen was the best thing in the film. And that's because they gave it the most time, and it's the thing that doesn't feel rushed at all. It feels from start to finish whole, a whole story. And a lot of it relies on the groundwork set up in the first film, which is good, but you really get a feeling of back and forth for Gwen and Peter, but you know that how he feels about her and how much she means to him. A lot of the flashback, it wasn't really flashback, but the ghost stuff with Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy was great. I thought it added a lot, and it gave a real good visual for how this relationship is weighing down on Peter. It was well done. But ultimately, this whole movie, the whole entire movie, was a setup for Gwen Stacy's death. The death of Gwen Stacy. That's it. That's the only purpose this film wanted to serve, was for the death of Gwen Stacy to hit you emotionally and help you understand where it takes Peter from here on. That's it. That's it. This was to set up all of the rest of Spider-Man, this film. So, realistically, it didn't really matter who the villains were, why they were villains, so long as a Green Goblin showed up and was, if not completely responsible, at least partially responsible for the death of Gwen Stacy. That's really it. So, it leads me to ask, why even bother to have Electro? Why not set up Harry Osborn a lot sooner as the Green Goblin? Because when he shows up, that's all they do is they fight a little bit, and then he says he's going to kill Gwen, and he ends up causing the death of Gwen Stacy, really. But that's it. It's all we see, the Green Goblin, and then he's obviously shipped off, and he's in prison or, a mental institution or whatever his deal is. And I know, again, like, that is going to be set up for future installments. But, I don't know. I just thought that part of the film could have been done better. That's all I'm saying. Overall, I really did like it. I thought the visuals were great. I thought this is probably the best. This was the best film representation of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, even including the first Amazing Spider-Man film. To me, this was the best Spider-Man and Peter Parker representation, but not the best film overall. I'm hoping that future installments will kind of go back to the pace and setup of the first Amazing Spider-Man. Not that I want to see the same film over and over again or anything like that, but the pacing was just better. So, let me know what you guys think. I will certainly respond to any and all comments, hopefully, especially if they're about this film. Again, I didn't hate it. I certainly do think people should see it. I just want people to keep those things in mind. Hopefully you didn't watch this review before you saw the movie. But if you go see it multiple times, hopefully you've seen it before then. Because I would like to see it again, too. Maybe, it's possible that I was tired when I saw the film and it just didn't ring with me the way it should have. I saw it at midnight, so, it was late in the day. That could have affected it, but I don't think so. These were things that were striking me at the moment, and I didn't go in, wanting to dislike it. I had really high hopes for it because I love Spider-Man. So anyway, yeah, just leave some comments. If you're not subscribed already, do that. You can follow me at BeRealNickNarrow on Twitter and also Instagram if you want. And you could follow us at Bogus Features, and if you happen to like Corey, you can follow him at GameLord, GAME_LORD. Again, that's on Twitter. And if you haven't already, watch some of our other videos. Some of them are pretty enjoyable, I think. Anyway, till next time, guys, I'm Nick Narrow. So, back to my point.